Suspended Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, today appeared before the probe panel headed by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and it was behind closed doors. So what did he say to the panel, and what questions were asked? What will be the outcome of the investigations in the alleged diversion and mismanagement of public funds? And here is a surprise one at the Federal High Court, Abuja, today, where Nnamdi Kanu was granted bail by Justice Binta Nyako. Guess what? The governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayoke, made a surprise appearance, saying he's in solidarity with the vision of the self-acclaimed leader of IPOB. And that's our focus on the program tonight. Many thanks for joining in, everyone. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Imana Amawe, sitting in for your regular host, Sheon Okimbaloye, who is on vacation right now. Well, let's begin with some other news we've been following here on Channels Television. The trial of Senate President Bukola Saraki at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which has been postponed for the second time in 1 month. The Senate President's trial on charges of false declaration of assets had been earlier postponed from Tuesday last week, April the 18th, to April the 25th. That's the date. It was, however, postponed once again for the second time this month until Thursday, April the 27th. The Senate President was arraigned before the CCT in September 2015 and is facing 18 charges bordering on false declaration of assets. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has withdrawn its application to stop the wife of former President Goodluck Jonathan, that's Patience Jonathan, from accessing her Sky Bank account. The FCC had filed an application asking the court to stay execution of an order which had, on April the 6th, unfroze the account that had a balance of about $5.9 million. Counsel for the EFCC, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo, today told Justice Mojisola Olatoregun of the Federal High Court in Lagos that the anti-graft agency was no longer appealing the order that unfroze the account. And therefore, the former First Lady's lawyer, Mr. Ifedayo Adedipe, withdrew the application he also filed against Sky Bank for contempt of court, having denied Mrs. Jonathan access to her account despite the order granting her access. The judge had frozen the account, and others allegedly linked to Mrs. Jonathan last year, after the EFCC filed an application claiming the funds in the accounts were suspected to be proceeds of crime. The suspended secretary to the federal government, Babachir Lawal, today appeared before the three-man panel led by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo to defend himself against allegations of grafts leveled against him by the government. The panel, set up to investigate allegations of violations of law and due process made against Lawal in the award of contracts under the Presidential Initiative on the Northeast, is equally investigating the suspended Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, IOK. The former NIA boss, who was on Monday grilled for over 10 hours by the panel, is under probe over the discovery of large amounts of foreign and local currencies by the EFCC in a residential apartment at Osborne Towers, Ikoyi, Lagos. And today, the meeting between the panel and the embattled SGF, Babachir Lawal, began at 1 p.m. and ended at about 3:30 p.m. at the State House, Abuja. Other members of the committee, aside the Vice President, are the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mungunu, a retired Major General, and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Well, Mr. Babachir Lawal arrived at about 1 p.m. today at that meeting, and the committee is expected to submit its report on its findings on Wednesday, May the 3rd, 2017. Yes, indeed, surely the exit of Babachir Lawal is throwing up a lot of issues. Should he be reinstated, or should he eventually be sacked? Who gets into his shoes? Will it be the North, or the South, or someone from the Southeast, or maybe one of his kinsmen from the Northeast? How will the selection be made? What is the position of the party APC in all of this? Well, let's shed some light into the matter. Joining me from Abuja studios is a policy analyst, Jide Ojo. Many thanks for joining us and welcome to the program. Mr. Ojo, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Imana.
The suspended SGF appeared before the three-man panel led by Professor Shibajo today at the presidential villa. What do you make of the constitution of that panel investigating the graft charges against Mr. Babachir Lawal and the NIA DG?
Thanks for me, it's in order for the president to have set up that fact-finding committee, even though one will have ordinarily expected that for the suspended SGF, he will have availed himself to the Senate committee, which was initially investigating the issue. But he rebuffed the invitation, and rather than showing up, decided to send a director in the SGF office to go and answer for the charges. And if let's assume that he has availed himself to the Senate committee headed by Senator Shehu Sani, possibly he will not have been suspended because he will have been able to explain himself and possibly will have been exonerated of the charges of doctrine or the procurement breaches and all of that. But again, we have, if you follow the trend, the Senator Shehu Sani's committee submitted an interim report and said, look, we have a prima facie case against the SGF and he should be relieved of his position. The presidency said in January, no, he cannot be relieved and he should not be relieved because he was not given fair hearing. And now, I think, if my memory serves me right, the Senate committee had renewed his invitation to him to come and, since the initial report was a preliminary report, has extended the invitation to him recently to say he should come and answer. And I'm not too sure whether he was able to oblige them of his presence. But no, all of that has been overtaken by events. It was suspended last week. And a fact-finding committee like the special advisor to the president, Mr. Femi Adesina, said a fact-finding committee has been set up to look into the case and come up with whether there is also something, there is an indictment on him, as well as the suspended NIA Director General. So for me, I think it's in order. Let's hear the facts. May 3rd is around the corner. We will soon get to know whether is guilty as the Senate committee has charged, or whether he is actually being witch-hunted.
Okay, Mr. J, doesn't the timing of Babachir Lawal's suspension raise certain questions? There have been several allegations against him, several reports. The Senate has had issues with his person as a SGF of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Why did it take so long for the President to suspend Mr. Lawal from his position as the SGF? Why all of a sudden? Isn't it rather curious?
Well, it's curious, nevertheless. I remember that even in the memo, the 30-page memo that Governor of Kaduna State, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, wrote to the President on September 22, 2016, he actually had very scathing words for the SGF as well as the Chief of Staff to the President, Alhaji Abba Kyari, that they are not helping the presidency. They are more or less a liability or a baggage on the presidency. So possibly I think the President, having weighed the pros and cons and wanting to possibly give the fair hearing that he initially said was not given to Babachir Lawal, maybe that's why he wants to set up this fight. But I've also read a number of people that said, look, there is no basis for setting up a committee, fact-finding or panel of inquiry or whatever. The case should have been allowed to be handled by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and possibly the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission.
So would you say that the president has lost confidence in the anti-graft agencies in the country? Perhaps that's the reason why he had to set up another committee headed by the vice president.
No, you need to know that, to the best of my knowledge, the EFCC has not even investigated Babacha Lawal. I stand to be corrected on that. It is the Senate committee that was set up that has investigated and have established a prima facie case against him and has therefore said he should be relieved of his position. Now, the president, on receipt of that preliminary report from the Senator Shehu Sani committee, decided to write a memo to the Attorney General of the Federation on that issue, as well as the non-confirmation of acting EFCC chairperson in the person of Malam Ibrahim Magu. And those two cases were referred to the SGF, Attorney General of the Federation, in January this year. And the Attorney General wrote back to say, on Babacha's Lawal, there was no fair hearing given to him, and as such, the call for his removal cannot be substantiated.